The government has decided that the telecoms infrastructure it will part fund in order to bring high-speed broadband to every home and business in the country will end up being owned by one or more private companies. The decision, which was taken to save money and avoid delays, has been criticised by Fianna Fáil, which said it should remain under state control.
Almost 1 million homes and businesses here don't have a high-speed broadband service because it's not viable for commercial operators to provide one. So the government's promised to fund infrastructure to ensure every premises gets connected. But the big question is who should end up owning the network, into which hundreds of millions of euro of taxpayer funding will be invested. Today, the Cabinet decided the best ownership option for the National Broadband Plan is the commercial stimulus model. Under it, the private sector will finance, design, build and operate the new network. The state will, in return, provide capital grants to the company or companies and impose certain obligations on them. But crucially, at the end of the 25-year contract, the infrastructure will remain in private hands.
My particular preference would have been that the state would own the network at the end of this process. But it was going to cost an extra 500 to 600 million euro. It was going to delay this process. And my number one priority as Minister is to get this broadband network delivered to every single premises.
It's clear that this government have learned nothing from the past. I think we all accept now that the decision to privatise Eircom at a time in the past did not prove to be the best interests or in the best interests of the people of this country. I think it delayed significantly the rollout of broadband services, and here again this government is about to make the same mistake.
Ironically, Eir, which used to be Eircom, is one of the companies bidding for a contract to build the infrastructure. It and the other companies still in the running have welcomed the news that the government has made a decision on the ownership model.
We want to participate in the National Broadband Plan to the full. We want to win as much of it as possible, and one of our goals is to minimise the exposure to the Irish Exchequer in so doing.
The contracts won't be awarded for at least a year, and it could be another 5 before all of Ireland is finally up to speed. Will Goodbody, RTE News.
People in many parts, rural parts of the country, are of course very unhappy with the quality of their broadband coverage, especially where there's no fibre network. Our South East correspondent Damien Tiernan has met 2 business people who face daily challenges.
The village of Clara, we're about 3 miles outside Kilkenny there at the minute, yeah.
You'd expect to have good broadband?
You would, yeah. At the moment, well, we're waiting for fibre, I suppose, for the last 10 years. At the moment we have the wireless broadband here, the line of sight one to the mast over on top of the hill. Broadband here, it's every few years there's different proposals saying how you'll have broadband by such and such a year, and every year it seems to get kicked down the road. We've 7 meg broadband from line of sight, which, you know, it's 50-60 meg in town.
Paddy Brennan has to spend hours sometimes uploading books or files for customers for approval. A middle-of-the-day speed test today shows how weak the download and upload speeds really are. He always delivers on time, but a long-promised fibre network would make his business far more efficient.
Fibre would probably mean basically faster turnaround times, and basically when you're saying to someone, I'll email it to you now, they get it, you know, within the minute rather than within 10 minutes.
Over in Tipperary, Ballyclearahan, with 1,000 people, is only a few kilometres from Clonmel. Monica Conway runs a lymphedema massage service from her home. The lack of fibre broadband makes her angry.
It was so bad that I had to change back to Eircom because every time I complained, I was told that I had to go back to the network provider because the service provider, who is Vodafone, have no control over the lines, so they send you back to the network provider.
Monica has spent €100 of her own money putting in a line-of-sight dish for her broadband.
But it's dreadful to think that, you know, these service providers like Eircom couldn't look after us.
There are many, many villages around the country, just like Clara and Ballyclearahan, who've similar broadband problems. Some people just don't believe the government promises.
I'd say it's another at least 10-15 years away.
Damien Tiernan, RTE News, County Kilkenny.